Alex Little now, criminal defense attorney, former assistant U.S. attorney. New York, a series of crimes out in Los Angeles. Man, there's a lot here.
It's not a good day to be Michael Avenatti. You never want to face a single federal indictment. Getting 2 federal cases at the same day at different parts of the country, it's pretty devastating.
The specifics in New York, could you lay out what those charges are regarding Nike and the accusations laid out today?
So it's a conspiracy to extort a publicly traded corporation. There's a couple charges, 3 different ways they've charged it, but in essence, they are alleging that he engaged in a scheme to extract money from Nike with the threat of harm to their personal reputation. And so he did that by saying he was going to release information. It appears from the complaint that information had to do with illegal payments, potentially to high school and college players, much like the case that's being prosecuted now there in Manhattan by federal prosecutors. That Mr. Avenatti had obtained information about that, was going to go public, and if he didn't get money that day or the next day from Nike, it was going to very much harm their reputation. And so you can't do that. It's extortion. And when you do it with other people, it's conspiracy to extort, and it's landed him in a lot of trouble.
The period between the beginning and the part where the FBI steps in. Help us understand how that sort of thing works. So somebody has come to you, they've tried to get something out of you, and you pick up the phone. Who do you call and what happens?
Well, so what's really interesting here, I think there's another media report as to who that co-conspirator is. It's a lawyer who had been dealing with Nike on other matters, and essentially they came to Nike and said, this is really serious, we need to talk to you. And it appears very quickly the lawyers for Nike realized this was not a standard negotiation. You know, there's settlement agreements every day in this country between employers, between corporations, and as soon as they realized the type of threat that was being made, the sort of severity of the request monetarily, they apparently went immediately to federal prosecutors who started to record these interactions. And so there are apparently tapes of Avenatti making these threats to the Nike lawyers.
Then out in Los Angeles, it's more about trying to say you had more than you did to try to get a loan.
Yeah, the Los Angeles case is sort of appears to be based on the complaint bread and butter bank fraud, where you tell the bank you got a lot more money than you do, and you try to get loans based on that. He also appears to have stolen money from a client. Those cases come up in every judicial district in the country. If the facts are what they are, he's going to spend some time in prison for that.
The New York case, you pointed out when speaking earlier that you see some similarities with another very high-profile American.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this case is the folks who, just remember a few weeks ago, Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, went public and said, National Enquirer is trying to extort me. They have these pictures potentially of me and my paramour, and they said if I don't do something, they're going to release them. What's interesting about that, first of all, I think lawyers who talked about that case said, hey, isn't that extortion? And it looks a lot like what was happening here. But AMI, the parent company of the National Enquirer, is being investigated, has previously reached an agreement with the same prosecutors in New York who are doing this case to stop sort of bad behavior. And I think those prosecutors, we now know, feel like actions like this are extortion, and there's a decent chance they're going to go back to the National Enquirer and say, you've got some real legal liability here.
Alex Little, thank you.
Thank you.